The pianist disappeared? What happened? Backstage was in a frenzy. The usually calm and graceful conductor's voice was trembling. I, being blind, worked behind the scenes as the orchestra's personal massage therapist, and I was listening in. Today was no ordinary concert. Dignitaries from across the country and abroad had gathered. This was the day that would determine the orchestra's future. And just before it began, our star pianist vanished. They said he felt sick and had to go to the hospital. There's no way we can find a replacement now. If we can't perform, it could mean the end of the orchestra. Anxious voices of the members overlapped. It's all over. The conductor's voice, filled with despair, made my body move on its own. I have a request. Could someone please take me to the piano? I had a feeling everyone was staring at me, confused. The moment I struck the keys with all my strength, despite never having known light since birth, my life began to change in a big way. My name is Kevin. I'm 25 years old and work as the personal massage therapist for the world-renowned Philharmonica Symphony Orchestra. During a single performance, orchestra members put so much strain on their muscles that it's like playing a full match of a sport. That's where I come in. For concerts, I'm given a room in the back that serves as my massage room. Members often stop by between rehearsals, and sometimes there's even a line. Right now, I'm working on Thomas, the viola player, who came in complaining about stiffness in his shoulder. Thomas, your right side is still really tight. If you stretch every 30 minutes, it should improve more. I've been doing what you taught me, Kevin. It really works, but I just can't find the time. You can't just press hard on stiff muscles and expect results. In fact, it's better to treat them gently, like handling something delicate, while mixing in fine tapping techniques. I can sense the tension and irregularities in the muscles just by touching them without pressing hard. Sometimes the spot where they say it hurts isn't actually where the problem is, it's somewhere completely different. With delicate finger movements, I search for the source of the pain. I never miss even the slightest change. Right here. Whoa, I had no idea that spot was so tight. Thomas flinched and turned over. That must be painful. I'll give it a thorough massage. Delicate yet dynamic. Your hands are like the hands of a god, Kevin. It's not the first time someone has said that to me. And every time, I feel a little conflicted. If my hands really were divine, I would rather use them to play an instrument that brings out delicate tones, not just massage tired muscles. I wish I could move people with a sound worthy of being called divine. Thomas kept chatting. Kevin, you have magical hands. Compared to you, we're like poorly tuned instruments. It's like your job is to adjust us, one by one. Thomas, you're a fine instrument. I can tell right away where the problem is with just a light touch. That's right. You're one of us, Kevin. Your instrument just happens to be our muscles. I felt a little lonely hearing that, but I nodded so he wouldn't notice. Yes, though, if possible, I'd love to play a real instrument. If you ever feel that way, don't hesitate to say so. Everyone here would be happy to help you. Of course, I know that. Everyone in Philharmonica is kind. They're always considerate and treat me well. As someone who loves music, being surrounded by melodies all day is the best environment I could ask for. Still, even though I belong to the orchestra, I sometimes feel sad that I'm the only one who can't touch an instrument. Everyone has their own instrument, and they don't like others touching them. To them, it's their closest friend and most prized possession. Honestly, I wish I could have my own instrument to play. If I could, I'd want to touch the keys of a piano. Every time I hear a piano's sound, my shrunken soul expands, bursts free from my body, and dances joyfully in the air. No matter the form, being close to music now is already a dream come true. Joining Philharmonica was the first and greatest blessing in my life. Until then, I had lived a life full of misfortune. From the beginning, I was born into a world with no light or color. I was born blind. I cannot experience color or the light that brightens the world. I was my parents' only child. I didn't understand it at the time, but I later learned that my parents had me after years of infertility treatments. But the child that was finally born was blind. At the time, my mother was exhausted from years of fertility treatments and couldn't accept that her son was blind. It was true this long-awaited child of hers would never be able to see her face. Just thinking about that filled her with sadness, and she fell into deep postpartum depression. My father was a busy man who was rarely home. Our neighbors, hearing my mother's cries and my endless wailing, eventually called child services. I don't know what my mother felt when she gave me up. Relief? Grief? All I know is that I was abandoned by my parents. I was sent to a children's facility called Maple Grove. There were other children there too, each with their own reason for not being able to live with their families. But I was the only one who was blind. When I first arrived, the children asked the director, Stephen, all sorts of questions. If he can't see, can he even play rock, paper, scissors? He can't read books, so he must not be able to study. No matter how close I get, he'll never see my face, right? Tired of the endless questions, Stephen kept me away from the other children. Stephen was the director of Maple Grove. He also owned several companies and was respected in society for supporting underprivileged children. But the truth was, he only used us to further his business goals. He had no real affection for us. Most of the children at Maple Grove came from poor backgrounds. What we had in common was that none of us were loved by our families. It's hard to blame the children, but naturally, their hearts grew cold. Unfortunately, the staff working with us at Maple Grove weren't angels either. The salary wasn't high, and the working conditions were far from good. The children never listened, and the job was nothing but stressful. So when Stephen wasn't around, the staff took out their frustration on the children. Someone who couldn't see made for a convenient target. I've known since I was little just how harsh life can be. The fact that I'm short and thin is probably not unrelated to my time at this facility. Even when I was hungry, I was rarely given enough food. It was clear the staff thought, he can't see anyway, so what does it matter? Though all of us were in sad circumstances, the others could see. Because I was blind, I became the target of teasing. Whether children or adults, it was the same. Everyone was hungry emotionally and physically, never feeling fulfilled, always frustrated. They needed a place to dump their feelings. That place was me. I've experienced things too painful to talk about. Why is life so cruel? Why do we have to live at all? I asked myself those questions again and again as I grew up. Had I not encountered the sound of a piano back then, I might have followed a much darker path. Originally, Maple Grove was built by a pastor from overseas and later passed into Japanese hands. That's why there was a small chapel on the grounds. One day, feeling broken and alone, I was drawn to a beautiful sound that felt like a voice from heaven and wandered into the chapel. There, playing the piano, was Timothy. I walked down the aisle as if guided by something divine. The sound stopped. I'm sorry. Please, don't stop playing. You're one of the children from Maple Grove, right? If I remember correctly, your name is Kevin. How do you know about me? I volunteer here and teach piano sometimes. I think I saw you during that barbecue party a while back. At Maple Grove, many events were organized by volunteers. Amid the bleak days, these moments brought a glimmer of light. Wealthy couples with no children would occasionally visit, dropping large donations for the children. On those days, it was forbidden to upset Stephen. Everyone had to wear clean sailor uniforms, line up in a row, and welcome the guests. We all spoke in unison to thank them. Thank you, kind sir and madam, for everything you've done for us. One wealthy older woman stroked my head, being the shortest among the children. You must live a noble life, even if you're poor. Yes, ma'am. Then Stephen would always chime in. This boy is completely blind. He's never seen anything since birth. He doesn't know the beauty of color or light. Oh my, how tragic. Let's double our donation for this child. We're so grateful for your generosity. Kevin, say thank you. Thank you very much. But of course, none of that extra donation ever reached me. Because of things like this, I never trusted rich donors or volunteers. But Timothy's voice was gentle, and his hands felt different, warm, sincere. That was a piano, right? I'd really like to try playing too. Would that be okay? Of course. Come here, I'll lift you onto my lap. There we go. I was small enough to sit easily on Timothy's lap, and I reached out to touch the keys. Each key I pressed gave off a different sound. The tones were so delicate and beautiful, I was completely captivated. When you press different keys at the same time, the sounds blend and become richer. Can I try that? Timothy gently guided my hands and helped me form a beautiful chord. It was so moving that I thought I could die right then and there and be content. You're very talented. I volunteered to teach piano to the children here. Why don't you join us? Even though I can't see, can I really learn to play? Yes, absolutely. If you learn where each key is and what sound it makes, you can become a great pianist, even without sight. After that, Timothy would always set aside time after lessons to teach me patiently. Stephen said nothing about it. Thanks to Timothy, I quickly learned how to play, and whenever I had time, I would sneak into the chapel to spend time with the piano. Time passed, and under Timothy's guidance, my talent began to bloom. You're amazing, Kevin. You don't belong in a place like this. You should soar into the world. There are contests out there that can open doors. Would you consider trying one? Soon, a competition to discover young talent would be held. The winner would be given a scholarship to study abroad and a chance to perform at Carnegie Hall. A blind boy like me, soaring into the world. If that happened, would my parents finally realize what they had abandoned? I pictured myself playing piano on the Carnegie Hall stage, the sound of thunderous applause echoing as I embraced my mentor, Timothy. Though I couldn't see, I could imagine the warmth of Timothy's hug. Then, one day, while I was quietly playing the piano, the chapel door slammed open and I heard heavy, angry footsteps. Who's touching the piano? Why are you better than me? From her voice, I could tell she was a girl around my age. I quickly stood and bowed slightly in the direction of her voice. Oh, you're one of the children from this place, huh? Acting all high and mighty just because you can play? Children here are supposed to live miserably. I'm sorry. I'll stop now. Please go ahead and play next if you'd like. Don't be stupid. If you're going to stop, stop for good. Never touch the piano again. I couldn't understand why she was being so unreasonable. Why would you say something like that? Because I am going to be the youngest Japanese pianist to perform at Carnegie Hall. Not you. You're blind, right? You'd be better off getting a massage license. It'll be much more useful for your life. If I had grown up like a regular boy, I might have just laughed it off. But I had never known light. The idea of me standing under Carnegie Hall's bright lights did feel like a dream too far. Eventually, I learned her name was Heather Stevens' daughter. She didn't usually come to Maple Grove. She lived in a mansion and led a privileged life. When something irritated her, she would come to the facility and mock the children to make herself feel better. Heather must have reported me. I was soon banned from using the chapel piano. Blind children can't make a living playing piano. Being a massage therapist is more realistic. Chasing dumb dreams will only bring trouble. I heard that Timothy repeatedly tried to reason with Stephen. One night, I happened to overhear them arguing. You're destroying a rare talent. If he wins the upcoming competition, Kevin will be guaranteed a chance to study in Europe. That means nothing. The boy is blind. If his environment changes, he won't survive. I plan to enroll him in massage therapy training after middle school. Don't pretend this is about kindness. Your daughter is entering the same competition. You're just trying to eliminate her rival. My breath caught. Heather was afraid of me winning. I had never heard other pianists live, only Timothy's records, but I was confident I could surpass them someday. But now I realized a rival from the same generation in Japan was aiming for the top spot. What should I do? That's when Stephen said something that changed everything. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure my daughter isn't surpassed. Timothy, your orchestra doesn't seem to be doing so well lately, does it? Are you really in a position to be volunteering? Are you threatening me? Take it however you like. Up until now, our company has supported your orchestra as equals, but if I pull our sponsorship, your little group will collapse overnight. Timothy said nothing in return. That meant if I kept playing piano, it would only cause trouble for Timothy, my greatest benefactor. From that day on, I stopped playing the piano. After graduating middle school, I enrolled in a vocational school to earn a massage therapy license. The moment I received my certification, I left Maple Grove as if fleeing. I moved from organization to organization, trying to find my place in the world and make a living. Then I learned that an orchestra called the Philharmonica was hiring a massage therapist. It was the perfect job for someone like me, who still wanted to stay close to music, even if only on the sidelines. The world can be small. Philharmonica happened to be the very orchestra Timothy now led. With help from someone else, I applied and was hired immediately. Timothy and I were overjoyed to see each other again, though it pained me to hear the regret in his voice. And so I began working with Philharmonica. As for Heather, she came in third in the competition, but only the winner got to perform at Carnegie Hall. Not being able to see Heather's face in that moment was the first time I ever truly regretted being blind. The conductor of Philharmonica was a woman named Rachel, Timothy's daughter. Until recently, Timothy had held the baton, but Rachel was set to make her official debut at the next concert. I would never see her face, but the word was that she was extraordinarily beautiful. Not only that, she was kind and warm-hearted, always treating me with sincerity. She was 28, considered prime age for marriage, but said she had no time for love. But if I ever do get married, I'd want someone like you, Kevin. A kind man who gives me massages every night. That sounds like a dream marriage. That sounds incredibly calculated, but well, I'd gladly give my wife massages for free. I can share playful, joking exchanges like that at least with Rachel. The truth is, deep down, I felt something close to love, but I tried desperately to hide it. I believed that someone like me wasn't good enough for Rachel, and she deserved better. Of course, that didn't fool her for long. Kevin, you're a wonderful person, but sometimes you put yourself down too much. I don't think that's fair. Not everyone needs to live in the spotlight. Life comes in all kinds of forms. Her words made my heart skip a beat. The spotlight, how I had once longed for it. But now, just being able to heal Rachel's tired body with my hands made me feel fulfilled. As the central figure of the orchestra, Rachel was under constant pressure. That's why she appreciated my massages so much. Tonight, I gently laid a towel over her shoulders and began my treatment. Her shoulders were more tense than usual. Though she always maintained her calm, her body was crying out for help. Your right shoulder's especially stiff today. Is something bothering you? Part of my role was helping members vent their worries and clear their minds. Rachel trusted me deeply and often confided in me about orchestra matters or even her personal struggles. A very important concert was coming up. Influential figures from both inside and outside the country would attend, and before engaging in key negotiations, they would first listen to Philharmonica perform. If the concert lifted their spirits, the talks would likely go smoothly. Current relations weren't great, so our performance held real political weight. But Rachel's concerns didn't end there. I can't lie to you, Kevin. I've told you before about my father's health, right? Timothy had been ill for some time, going in and out of the hospital. Since then, the baton had passed to Rachel, and she had done her best to lead the orchestra. Did something happen? His condition took a turn for the worse. Doctor said he only has a few months left. I was speechless. Timothy wasn't just Rachel's father, he was my savior. If not for him, I never would have fallen in love with music. Without that love, I would have lived a bitter, hollow life. Though I gave up on becoming a pianist, The power of music still fills my days with purpose. That's devastating. He's such an extraordinary man. It's not right. That's why this concert matters so much. I want to give the best performance of my life, to let my father know he can rest easy. I remained silent for a while, continuing my massage. I didn't know what to say, but breaking down in tears wouldn't help either. This concert was Rachel's last chance to show her father how far she'd come. Let's make it a performance to remember. I'll support you however I can, even from the shadows. Thank you. Everyone's tense and on edge. Please use your massage to calm their hearts. Of course. But Timothy's illness wasn't the only issue. Our orchestra also had one serious troublemaker. Our star pianist was none other than Heather. Stephen, our biggest sponsor, had pushed hard to get her that position. To be fair, she was talented. She had placed well in several competitions and had some name recognition. There were even audience members who came just to hear her play. But her relationship with Rachel was terrible. When two women of the same generation are placed in the same group, it often leads to problems. Rumor had it Heather saw Rachel as a bitter rival, especially because of her beauty. Heather would wear heavy makeup, trying to compete with Rachel's natural charm. It made the other members roll their eyes. I think she's trying to look like Rachel, but it just looks like a thick mask of makeup. Makeup is fine, but spending 2 or 3 hours on it? That's not normal. No matter how much she paints her face, she's never going to be Rachel. Apparently, she's often referred to as a beautiful pianist by the public. It seems there's no way she could ever let the world see her without makeup. Of course, as someone who couldn't see, none of this mattered to me. Pianists are the stars of the orchestra. Dressed in dazzling gowns, they mesmerize the audience with their performance. And Heather had earned her place with real talent. During piano recitals, the rest of us felt like mere background players. She commanded the attention of every eye in the hall as she played. What that kind of attention must feel like, I'll never truly know because I've never known light. But when I hear Heather's piano playing, I can tell she's completely lost in the thrill of the moment. But this time, there was another woman stepping onto a stage even more brilliant. Rachel, conducting for the first time in an official capacity. Music journals had already begun calling her the beautiful conductor. Heather surely found that hard to swallow. But there was no way Timothy could return to the stage in his condition. The whole orchestra was united. We were going to give Timothy a performance to be proud of. Rehearsals continued late into every night. Afterward, a line of musicians would stretch down the hallway, waiting for my massage. To give their best performance, they needed my help. And I, feeling like one of them, worked deep into the night to ease their tension. That night, I had treated so many that I was completely drained. I was just about to turn in, thinking no one else was coming, when Heather appeared quietly. My back is stiff. Can you work on it? Of course. Please lie down on that bed. The moment I touched her, I could tell she was pushing herself hard too. When I stayed silent, Heather began talking on her own. I'm not the kind of pianist who'll end her career in a place like this. I'll be studying abroad soon and making a name for myself all over the world. She was bragging, as always. Studying abroad these days? That sounds expensive. Hard to believe you've got that kind of money. Well, even if we sold off that facility you grew up in, it wouldn't fetch much. The fact that she agreed with me suggested she really didn't have enough for her overseas ambitions. It had been some time since I left Maple Grove. I wondered how everyone there was doing. Most children leave once they turn 18 and try to live on their own. Among them, only a handful become what people call success stories and return to donate money to the facility. I decided to shift the conversation. Do you ever visit Maple Grove? I hope everyone's doing well. Nothing's changed depressingly so. There are still cracks in the walls, and the kitchen floor sinks when you walk on it. I heard the assistant director is trying to save up funds to rebuild it. I hope it's going well. They should just shut the whole place down and give all the money to me. Then I'd be able to study abroad. She was as selfish as ever. Then Heather let something real slip. I don't want to cheer for Rachel's big debut. It's ridiculous how much attention she's getting, and there hasn't been a single article about me, the star pianist. Well, she probably draws attention because she's beautiful, or at least people say so. Heather suddenly shot up from the bed. Even you? Don't talk about her looks. You have no idea how humiliating it is to stand next to someone like her. The session wasn't finished, but Heather got up and stormed toward the door. Just wait for the big day, she said as she shut the door behind her. I had a bad feeling about it, but I didn't tell anyone what happened that night. Then, the day of the concert arrived. From early in the morning, the musicians were in a frenzy, checking their instruments and tuning again and again. I could tell from the sound of their playing that nerves were running high. Before I knew it, it was almost time for the curtain to rise. The orchestra members had already taken their places on stage. All we were waiting for was the pianist. That's when the shocking news arrived. Heather suddenly collapsed and had to be taken to the hospital. Right now, we have no pianist. What? Then we can't start the concert. I hadn't noticed anything wrong with Heather when I massaged her. But without her, there was no pianist in Philharmonica. There wasn't enough time to call in someone from another orchestra. Rachel muttered in despair. This is the end. We can't hold a concert without a pianist. The orchestra members broke into a panic. Isn't there anything we can do? Someone here must be able to play. Just playing isn't enough, we need a real pianist. The audience won't be fooled. Everyone tried to come up with ideas, but nothing worked. After letting them talk it out, I finally stepped forward. Could someone take me to the piano? I'm a pianist. The entire room went silent. They knew I wasn't the kind of person to joke at a time like this. Then, Rachel came over and took my hand. I'm counting on you. Yes. And with that, I sat at the piano. I heard Rachel step up onto the conductor's platform. The curtain rose. Applause rippled through the hall, mixed with confused whispers. Who's that pianist? I don't recognize him. I came to hear Heather. I ignored the voices and focused all my senses on the piano. I couldn't rely on sight, so I listened for the faint sound of Rachel's baton cutting the air. I synchronized with her breathing and the subtle pause before the first downbeat. The baton moved. The performance began. When it came time for the piano, I began to play. I remembered how I used to play alone in the chapel at Maple Grove, blending my music with the wind and the birds. Now I was not alone. I was part of something bigger, connected by trust to every musician on stage. Their breath, the sound of bows on strings, the whisper of Rachel's baton slicing through the air. Everything harmonized with my piano. Rachel held back tears as she conducted, her voice swallowed in the back of her throat. Everyone knew how important this day was for her. Somewhere in the audience, Timothy was listening. He was my mentor, my guide. I wanted to move him with my music. A quiet murmur of oh, rippled from the audience. The room fell completely silent, all attention on my playing. Though the hall was still, I could feel the intense emotion of the listeners wash over me like a wave. Everyone was spellbound, the entire space united by music. The moment I played the final note, the entire audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. The hall erupted with overwhelming energy as everyone gave a standing ovation. I stood, gave a small bow toward the audience, and then quietly sat back down. It felt unreal, like a dream. My performance had touched everyone's hearts. They were truly moved. This was what I had longed to do, deep inside, for so long. After 2 encores, the curtain finally fell. The orchestra members rushed over. You're amazing, Kevin. That was incredible. I've never had music shake me like that before. Everyone on stage applauded for me. Rachel stepped down from the podium and approached. Why did you hide this? You're incredibly talented. I'm not a pianist anymore, but if I can do something for the orchestra, that's enough for me. I told him about the competition, where Heather placed third, how I gave up on entering. and ended my dream then. A woman from the violin section spoke up. If you had entered that contest, I'm sure you would have won. You would have played at Carnegie Hall, and the whole world would have known your name. A man from the viola section agreed. What a waste. But it's not too late. You should still pursue your dream as a pianist. Cheers of, that's right, rose from the orchestra members. Then came the sound of a wheelchair rolling in. Timothy entered to a round of applause. No, save all your applause for Kevin. His voice thick with tears. Overcome with emotion, I stood and slowly walked toward him. Timothy, I was only able to perform tonight because of you. Thank you. I never taught you for reward, but tonight's performance was the greatest reward I could ask for. I'm so glad you're here. Had I not been here, the concert would have been canceled. The audience would have left disappointed, and the important discussions scheduled for afterward might not have gone well. At least now, the foreign delegates would be in good spirits, and their meeting would likely go smoothly. As we basked in the joy of the moment, Rachel asked in a puzzled voice, "What do you mean, taught?" "Dad, you taught Kevin piano." "That's right. Kevin is from Maple Grove. You know I used to volunteer there as a piano teacher, don't you?" "Yes, I remember." "So that means, Kevin, you were one of my father's students?" Gasps of surprise and excitement rose from the orchestra members. Rachel couldn't hide her astonishment as she turned to me with more questions. "Maple Grove, wasn't that the facility where Heather's father served as the director? So you grew up there?" "My birth parents couldn't accept that their child was born blind, so they left me at the facility. That must have been incredibly hard. There were painful days, and I suffered a lot. But during Timothy's piano lessons, I could forget everything. The only reason I'm standing here today is because of him." Timothy sobbed openly, not caring who saw. Now I can go in peace. This has been the greatest night of my life." I couldn't find the right words. All I could do was hold his trembling hand tightly. Then, unfamiliar footsteps echoed from the wings. A man approached, gently placing a hand on my shoulder. "Pardon the sudden interruption. My name is Mark. I'm a music producer. Your performance just now, it was extraordinary. I'd be honored if you'd let me produce you." The room stirred with excitement. Even I had heard of Mark. Wait, the Mark? The one who launched so many artists onto the world stage? That's me. Honestly, the music scene in Japan has felt stagnant lately. But hearing you play made me want to create something great again. Rachel pressed her hand supportively against my back. "You should consider this seriously. Even if it means leaving this orchestra, I'll endure it if it's for your happiness." "I can't. I could never leave. I've always wanted to support you, Rachel, and I still do." "Thank you, Kevin. I feel the same way." From the way Mark watched us, he clearly understood that our relationship was more than just professional. At the very least, he and Rachel both knew how deeply I was drawn to her. The rest of the orchestra chimed in, encouraging me. "Why not return to music? You were sent here by the heavens to play. It's your purpose. Don't bury it away." Rachel. I had no words. I still can't forget the feeling of the piano beneath my fingers. It had been so long. I never imagined I'd be playing the piano again, let alone for this orchestra. "What a beautiful bond you two share," Mark said. "I wouldn't dream of breaking it. If you're not signed to a production company, come to mine." After that, we could sign a contract with this orchestra as well. It was a proposal I had never even considered. But then, Philharmonica already had a pianist, Heather. I'm just a massage therapist here. Heather is our official pianist. And where's that official pianist? She ditched the most important concert of the year. That's not professional behavior. Fire her and replace her with Kevin. She said she suddenly felt unwell and went to the hospital. I can't support removing someone who's sick. Just then, one of the orchestra members dragged a reluctant Heather toward the stage. I could hear Heather's voice protesting in resistance. "Let go. That hurts. These arms are my livelihood." Whispers spread through the group. She doesn't look sick to me. She was acting like she was dying. Then one of the orchestra members looked at Heather's face and pointed something out. She only put on one false eyelash. From the front, her face looks weird. Several others laughed. Teasing someone's appearance is never right. But if that was why she missed the concert, that was different. Shut up, I couldn't find the other eyelash, okay? I couldn't possibly go on stage looking like this, so I pretended to be sick. Rachel's anger exploded. You faked it? You skipped the concert over eyelashes? That's disgraceful. You have no pride as this orchestra's pianist? Heather burst into a sharp, mocking laugh. Pride? As if this orchestra was ever worth that. The audience only came because my name was on the bill. Without me, you'd be nothing more than a cheap, traveling band. Trembling with anger, I firmly took hold of Rachel's hand. In situations like this, the one who loses their composure first is the one who loses. Which meant, if we could push Heather into losing hers, the truth would start to spill out on its own. Then why did you stay with Philharmonica? Why not just leave? The real reason came down to her father, Stephen, and his long-standing financial entanglements with Timothy. Stephen likely stayed close to Timothy to bend rules, borrow easily, and pull favors. I'll quit as soon as I save up enough. My dad's putting money together for my overseas studies right now. Timothy spoke up in a stern voice, challenging Heather's words. That's quite the claim, but your father's company is struggling. I doubt he can afford to fund long-term study abroad. Oh, please. He has that facility, doesn't he? If he just takes a little money from it, he'll have enough in no time. Timothy gasped, then pressed her for confirmation. Heather, did your father really say that? That he'd take a little from the facility funds? Yes, he did. What's wrong with that? It's his money. There's nothing wrong with using it. But Heather was wrong. Stephen wasn't the owner of Maple Grove, just the director. The facility was managed by a prestigious department store group. If Stephen used those funds, it would be embezzlement. Timothy clenched his fist and pounded the armrest of his wheelchair. So the rumors were true. There's been growing concern about shady finances at Maple Grove and suspicions that Stephen was exploiting his position. Heather finally seemed to grasp the weight of what she had said. Wait, what? Dad isn't the owner? I thought selling the place would pay for my studies. How indulgent had Stephen been with her? For Heather to be recognized as a top-tier pianist, studying abroad was certainly one path. But even that is only meaningful if it's something she earns on her own. Unlike most successful musicians, Heather had no patrons. Part of the reason was likely Heather's difficult personality. Having been spoiled her whole life, she tended to look down on everyone and rubbed people the wrong way. And while it wasn't her fault, some said her looks didn't help either. For someone like me, who can't see, it wouldn't have mattered how unattractive Heather was if she had played with beautiful expression. I would have acknowledged her and respected her as a pianist. But her ugliness of spirit, the kind even I could sense, was impossible to ignore. Once the truth came out, things moved fast. Philharmonica terminated Heather's contract immediately, and the story spread across Japan. No other orchestra was willing to hire her, and Heather lost her place to perform altogether. To make matters worse, one of the international dignitaries who had attended the concert, she bailed on spread word of the incident throughout Europe. Her career as a pianist was over. Stephen's embezzlement was also quickly exposed. Maple Grove filed charges against him for misuse of public funds. Terrified of legal action, he returned all the money, but that wasn't enough. Stephen's disgrace became known across the country, and not a single investor came forward to support his failing company. One by one, he was forced to sell his companies, losing all social standing. Rumors about where Stephen and his daughter are now and what they're doing have been circulating from all directions. But no one knows which, if any, of them are true. Still, life offers second chances. Maybe one day, If they truly change, they'll find redemption somewhere. As for me, the audience that night began spreading the story of what had happened. After all, a blind massage therapist had stepped in and delivered a breathtaking piano performance. People couldn't stop talking. And then, an unexpected truth came out. I had no idea how I looked, but apparently I was considered quite attractive. Though I wasn't tall, I had a melancholic beauty, and women especially found themselves drawn to the young, mysterious pianist. One of the weekly magazines dubbed me the handsome blind pianist. Sometimes I'd get chased by women, shouting in high-pitched voices, claiming to be my fans. Though the world around me was moving at breakneck speed, I felt calm inside. Should I live as a pianist or remain a massage therapist? That overwhelming euphoria I felt on stage that I would never forget for the rest of my life. We only get one life. And as my performance began making waves across Japan and even abroad, a quiet hope began to bloom in me. Perhaps the parents who gave birth to me had seen my success. Even if we couldn't meet now, maybe just maybe they might one day wish to see my face. If I could one day feel the warmth of their hands, maybe everything I've endured would be worth it. And so, I made my decision. I would live as a pianist. As the new face of Japanese classical music, interview requests started pouring in from all directions. But I never did them alone, only when Rachel could be by my side. Which orchestra do you plan to join, Kevin? My manager, Mark, has been bringing me all kinds of offers, but my heart was saved by Philharmonica. After that interview, Rachel spoke to me with a delighted voice. Then let's make it official. As the representative of Philharmonica, I'm officially scouting you as our full-time pianist. Thank you, but I have one condition. Oh, what is it? I want to be hired as both the official pianist and the official massage therapist. I'll never forget the sound of Rachel's radiant laughter. Kevin, how can one person be so wonderful? As I stood dumbfounded, she suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace. My father must be smiling from heaven. Let's visit Timothy's grave. I want to report this to him properly. And while we're at it, why not tell him one more thing? One more thing? That we're getting married. Our lips met naturally, and we embraced tightly. That someone like me could be loved. It felt like a dream. Needless to say, we visited Timothy's grave that very same day. From then on, I supported the orchestra both as a massage therapist and as their official pianist. Rachel and I got married, and now she's carrying our second child. Having a family to protect has changed the way I view life. No matter what, I must make them happy. I've become a man who lives not just for his own joy, but for the joy of those he loves. The name Kevin is now known around the world. I'm invited to perform overseas frequently, always traveling with the help of my manager, Mark. Once our baby is born safely, I plan to bring my child on concert tours to show them the world I can't see through their own eyes. One day, as I was waiting in the airport lobby, Mark came up to me. A couple in their 60s, Samuel and Melissa, are here asking to meet you. Does the name ring any bells? Huh? No, not at all. The resemblance, especially the woman. She looks just like you. I thought maybe. And now, I feel ready to say it from the heart. Thank you for giving me life.